What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today's reaction video is going to be something a little bit different to what we normally do. For my first video today, it will be technically a sport reaction. It's the worst NBA injury ever, ? Doctor explains Shaun Livingston, who I think I know who Shaun Livingston is. I believe he plays for the Golden State Warriors, or at least he played. I don't know if he does anymore. That's from a couple of years ago. I do remember seeing him. I think it was the Golden State Warriors injury. A lot of things change in sport over time, and it's an NBA video. Just want to say, shout out to the Bucks. Fair play. Giannis, absolute beast. If you want me to react to his 50-point game, I haven't actually seen it. I just saw a headline, and that seems insane. So if you want me to react to that, let me know in the comments, guys. But Golden State Warriors, I believe. And it's going to be an interesting one. One, I have no clue what the injury was. If it was the worst injury ever, it's going to be gruesome. It's going to be very gruesome. And it's going to be a short one, because it's only a 6-minute video. So let's get straight into it, guys. Hopefully we're going to learn something today. I have been watching Grey's Anatomy, which I think is on Disney, which is something I wouldn't normally watch. I've kind of joined halfway because a girlfriend was watching it. And it's like basically all casualty stuff, surgeons, stuff, and it is quite interesting. So maybe I'm going to learn about, as I kind of learned from that as well, which is pretty awesome. And let me know in the comments if you want to see stuff like this, little explanations of stuff, a bit more scientific, I kind of guess. I guess that's how you can put it. Hit that like button if you do want to see more, or if you just enjoyed it, or if you're just a legend, hit that like button. Subscribe if you're new, I'd seriously appreciate that. And now, let's get straight into it.
What is it about certain injuries in sports that classify them as being the most severe in the history of the game? Some people would say that it depends on how much time the player missed and how it affected their career, while other people would argue that it depends on how severe the injury actually looked. But
yeah, I'd go with how severe the injury looked. 100% I'd go with that.
Of how you would answer that question, I think few people would argue the fact that the injury we're going to talk about in today's video is potentially the most severe and devastating injury in the history of the NBA.
I'll be the judge of that.
What's going on, everybody? My name is Brian, and for those new to the channel, I'm a doctor who's also an avid sports fan, and it's my goal in these videos to take a look at different sports injuries and break them down and explain them in a way that's easier for the common fan to understand and hopefully learn something from. Today's video is another commonly requested topic. We're going to be taking a look at Shaun Livingston's devastating knee dislocation and talk.
Okay, straight off the bat, a knee dislocation doesn't sound too bad. I know I'm very at the start. People are like, no, you don't know half of it. Just listen. Why are you pausing to tell me that? But, you know, it's a knee dislocation. How bad can it actually be? Let's find out, let's find out.
Talking in general about why these types of injuries are so severe and scare us doctors so much when we're covering events. As a warning for any of those sensitive to it, this is a pretty devastating injury.
Who's running? Oh, no.
So we're going to take...
Oh, no. Oh, my God. That's not a dislocation. That's a bloody snap. What? I'm trying to figure out the teams as well. Is that LA Clippers? And then the CHA, Charlotte Hornets? I don't know. I really don't know who they are. So, not Golden State Warriors. That definitely isn't Golden State Warriors. But, oh my God, man. Oh.
So we're going to take a look today at why these knee dislocations can be so devastating. First off, our
brutal.
usual anatomy lesson, and I'm really excited today. I've got some props. This bone up here at the top, that's the femur, that's the big thigh bone. This bone down here at the bottom is the tibia, or your shin bone, for lack of a better word. Yep. And then this bone out here on the side is the fibula. Not the fibia, like some people like to say. This is the tendon from the quad muscle coming down across the top of the kneecap. This model also has the different ligaments and structures. So on the outside, this is our LCL, or the lateral collateral ligament. Lateral is a fancy medical word for outside. On the other side of our model here, we have the MCL, or the medial collateral ligament. And then if we look kind of inside, we can see our two meniscus structures sitting between the bones. And if we look on the back, we can see our ACL and our PCL. First off...
Right, I just want to say as well, regarding the injury or not, is it not just so impressive to sit down and watch an extremely high-level, smart person in their field? I know it's only a few bones, a few ligaments and stuff like what he's talking about, but it's just easy. It's just off the tongue, and you just get that confidence from him that he knows what he's on about. And it's just awesome to hear. I don't know if you guys enjoy that, but I really do. It feels like a treat to hear it, to be honest. He's passionate, he's good at it, and he knows his stuff. And you get that feeling from all the vibes you get from him, all that. It's just so good. So I've definitely got to do more if you guys want to see him.
the bat, in order for a knee to become dislocated, you have to injure at least 2 of the 4 major ligaments in the knee. Now, in the case of Shaun Livingston, he knocked off his ACL, his PCL, and his MCL.
Oh, wow.
The lateral ligament was still intact. The thing they don't show you in a lot of these anatomy models and pictures, but it's part of why this is such a potentially devastating injury, is the blood supply and the nerve supply to the limb and how it relates to the knee. This red tube in the back represents what we call the popliteal artery. So an artery is basically a blood vessel that carries blood from the heart out to the rest of the body, whereas a vein is a blood vessel that carries blood from the outside of the body back to the heart. This big vessel,
big brain over here, I knew that. I feel proud, I knew that.
vessel right here is taking blood from up above in the body all the way down the leg and into the foot. Now, if we think back to the events that transpired after the injury, a key point that potentially saved his limb from having to be cut off was that the trainers and doctors at the game were able to reduce, or basically put back in place, his knee. Imagine you've got this blood vessel that's actually pretty firmly adhered to the bones in the back of the knee. Imagine what might happen if the femur and the tibia were to become completely separated. So you can see a little bit here as I'm pushing it, how it stresses and how it bends that red tooth. Think of that as a blood vessel being stretched and pulled whenever the knee joint separates or moves. Now, what can happen is that separation of that blood vessel can cause it to become completely pinched off, or can even cause it to tear. So if you've got all of this blood flow that's trying to get down to the leg, and you take this blood vessel and completely tear it or rip it in half, you're not getting blood down to the rest of the leg, and as we know, the muscles and everything need the blood to work. So that's why this is such a potentially devastating injury. It's all about the effect on blood flow to the rest of the leg below the knee. The reason it's so important to try to put the knee back in place is potentially if something's pinching that blood vessel, you can put the knee back in place and relieve some of that tension and some of that pressure so that hopefully the blood can flow back down into the foot. The key part here,
and the key word there is hopefully. It's not guaranteed. And again, it's a mental thing. You think, oh, he's dislocated a knee, like I said at the first. It's like, that's not the end of the world. Just pop it back in place. That being said, I am someone who's never had that happen to me. So I imagine it's extremely painful. I'm not saying it's not the end of the world, just pop it back into place. I imagine it's completely painful. You're probably out for quite a few weeks. And it's something you don't want happening. But if it does happen, to me, I was kind of like, well, it's happened now. Just put it back in. There's no, you can scream all you want. But surely it's not going to be the worst NBA injury. But he almost lost his leg by the sound of it. Wow. And it was touch and go because it was hopefully the blood restores, and it did. Wow.
Here is the longer you wait to do that, the harder and harder it gets. So when this happens in a game, the doctors and the trainers are sprinting out there to try to reduce that knee as quick as they can.
I rate that.
Because if you wait, the muscles get tight, the muscles get stiff, and it gets harder and harder and harder to put it back in place.
Oh, wow.
This blood vessel doesn't always get damaged. Roughly 30% or a third of the time that the knee dislocates, it gets damaged in some way. And there's
quite high odds
to all of this. So whenever Shaun Livingston's knee dislocated, there was essentially an internal clock in the head of that trainer and the physician, knowing that they were up against time to try to make sure the blood supply was okay to the foot. If the blood flow is impaired below the knee for more than around 5 to 6 hours, that's when you can start to see irreversible muscle and cell death. And
okay, that's still quite a long time. So if they hadn't have got it in the first hour, surely there's a hospital in that range, if you know what I mean. So it's always going to, hopefully, as long as it's not extreme damage, which it may have been in this case, but it should be okay, you know? That's a long time, 5 to 6 hours. Is it not? Again, if you're an expert in this, let me know in the comments. If you're not an expert and you think you know a little bit, still let me know. Because everyone's opinions, everyone's idea and what they think can come to a great idea in the end and figuring it out, and it's awesome to hear your guys' opinions as well.
If all those muscles and structures die, they become infected and all kinds of other bad stuff, and that's when you potentially have to get the limb cut off. Whenever there's been decreased blood flow for around 8 hours, sometimes up to 85% of the time, the leg has to end up getting cut off. As we know from Shaun Livingston being in the NBA, obviously that was not the case. By the time he got to the hospital, there was still good blood flow, nothing had been torn or damaged, But the doctors didn't really know that when he was on the court. And so that's what made this such a severe, potentially devastating injury. Thankfully, he was able to make an awesome comeback in recovery. All the other structures were fixed, and now he's an NBA champion. So that is it for this video. I hope that was informational. I hope you learned something, and that idea of why knee dislocations and that injury in particular was considered to be such a devastating and severe injury. Thanks as always, everybody, for...
Well, now I'm going to look at every single injury like that completely different, like I just am mentally. And again, it's for a better thing. You're going to be extremely more worried. Like, when it happens, you know it's painful, you're shocked, and it's awful to see. But I don't think you're worried for someone's leg. You know what I mean? A lot of it is, okay, just pop it back into place. When it's not as severe, you know what I mean? People probably get so annoyed at how simplistic I'm making this. But at least I'll know now that it can be extremely dangerous. It just adds that little bit more heightened, we need to sort this out right now, we're going to hit. You know what I mean? Hopefully, I won't have to experience that ever in my life, and hopefully you guys won't either. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Again, a pretty short one, and a short one and different, but a very interesting one. If you have, hit that like button, guys. I'd really appreciate it. Hit that subscribe button as well. You're absolute legends. We've just hit 16,000 subs, and I can't thank you guys enough. Honestly, it means the world to me. You're absolute legends. I will see you guys in the next one, and make sure you have a fantastic night. Peace.